Hello everyone, all over the world, wherever you are. William Poloniak here again from Whole Health Foundation. Today I'm doing a garden harvest juice with three of my favorite greens: French sorrel, kale, and dandelion greens. So let's look at those and the rest of my ingredients. Well, here I have dandelion greens, French sorrel, carrots, of course. I always put carrots in my juices. Over to the left we have tomatoes, about a dozen tomatoes, kale, and behind these ingredients I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cucumbers, about, it looks like 6 zucchinis, a couple of yellow crooked neck squash, 130 grams of turmeric, about 100 grams of ginger, half a garlic clove, and about a dozen Anaheim peppers. So let's make some juice. Now, before I begin, I want to point out that I'm using a front-loading feed tube, and if you already own a Norwalk juicer, your ceiling is probably plastered with juice pulp because there's a blowback. With the front-loading feed tube, there is virtually zero blowback. I'm also using the near zero blowback cutter that has over 80 sharp teeth cut into the cutter, and this enables you to shred produce at 40 degrees cooler temperatures. So let's install the near zero cutter and the front loading feed tube. I'm going to plug in the thermometer, and I'm going to start with 3 or 4 ice cubes to cool down the cutter and the feed tube. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start with kale. Just like a hot knife through butter with that new cutter. Now I want to point out also, I'm only putting 3 leaves of kale through at one time. Because the cutter does such a good job, you're going to be tempted to put in more kale, but don't do that. Less produce through the feed tube works more effectively. Now my temperature's climbing up above 20 degrees. You can go as high as 35, but I like to keep my temperature under 20. So 3 more ice cubes. More kale. Next I'll do my French sorrel. More French sorrel. I'm going to put in some tomatoes. Now tomatoes are very liquid, so you want to be careful to keep this covered. You don't want to get a blowback in your face. Next I'm going to clean my grid and do my dandelion greens. So we'll clean both sides of the grid, and you notice I'm scraping this off, not slicing it off. And I'm using my finger to clean the knife. Next, we'll do my dandelion greens. Now we have a little bit of dirt on the bottom, so I'm going to cut that off. so we're going to get more ice cream. Now here's the last of my dandelion greens. Next I'll start with my Anaheim chilies, but I'm breaking off the stem. More chilies. We're up over 20, so more ice cubes. Next, I'll put in my turmeric. Yellow squash. This might be too big. Looks like this one's going to thin. This one is definitely too big, so I'm going to cut it into quarters and feed in a few at a time. Now for some zucchini. Next I'll put in my cucumbers. 7 cucumbers. I want to point out that cucumbers are very, very liquid, so be very careful to keep this covered. Finished with my greens, I'm going to start with my carrots. Now I want to point out that after I put my first couple of carrots in, I'm going to clean my grid and switch to the number 2 grid instead of the J grid. The number 2 grid does a much better job on carrots. The last of my carrots, and as you can see I had to use a separate container because my collection bowl was too full. So let me point out, when you're on your last produce, one of the beautiful things about this front loading feed tube is that you can see in here, and I can actually see that all that carrot is not shreds, so I'm going to put some pulp in here and force that last plug of carrot through, and then I'm going to mix my produce, and we'll add this to the bowl a little bit later and we'll make some juice. Next I'm going to mix the carrots in with my greens very carefully in this almost overfilled bowl, and later I'm going to take this carrot pulp that I've set aside and mix it in and continue with my juicing until all of this is pressed. Next, I'm going to put pulp into the cloths and demonstrate my 6 cloth less work method. So 3 heaping scoops of pulp into each cloth, fold it over in thirds just like it came in the package. Little crease back here. Pull the front under like so, set it aside because I'm going to press 2 cloths full of pulp at a time, and that way you get better pressure and more juice from your produce. So again, in thirds, a little crease back here. And the first thing I'm going to do is put 2 cloths into the press, centered left to right, centered front to back, adjust it if you need to, all the way back, back it off and turn on the machine. And then we continue preparing more cloths full of pulp. 3 scoops in each cloth. Now when I'm down to my last cloth, I'll advance that all the way. And here's my 6 cloth less work method. This goes forward, this goes over, the spent cloths go on top. 2 more cloths full of pulp into the press. Make sure it's on the tray and the press plate properly. Centered left to right, centered front to back, adjust it if need be, all the way back, back it off a little bit. Now there's 2 methods for the 6 cloth less work method. Because my collection bowl is puddling with liquid juice, I'm going to crush this up and put it in the puddle and put 3 more scoops. And again, because I have a puddle of juice in the collection bowl, I'm going to crush up this pulp, put it in the puddle of juice, mix it in with my ladle, rotate my bowl, and put 3 more scoops into the cloth. And when I'm on my last cloth, I advance that all the way. You notice there's a rhythm to this method. And here's my 6 cloth less work method again. This goes forward, that goes over, the spent cloths go on top. And we continue until all of the pulp is gone. Centered left to right, centered front to back. Again, adjust it if need be, all the way back, back it off. Now what I'm going to do with this excess pulp is put it in the bowl, mix it, and continue. Mix that all the way. Now this time, I'm not going to put the pulp in the bowl. I'm going to put 2 scoops, not 3 scoops, on top of the old pulp. You do not throw away your pulp until the very end. And I'm going to show you how you can get 1 or 2 extra bottles of juice using the 6 cloth less work method, and using the Whole Health Foundation Premium Juicer that has the solid bottom plate. Again, we do not throw away the pulp. We put 2 scoops, not 3, on top of the old pulp. Advance that all the way when you're on your last cloth. And again, my 6 cloth less work method. This goes forward, this goes over, spent cloths go on top. Now because my collection container is full, I'm going to shut off the juicer and put this into bottles. Now I'm going to fill this from the back side so the camera gets a good look, and you'll notice that I'm leaving about 10% because I'm going to add distilled water. You could use filtered water or bottled water. And the reason I leave 10% is, for me, the juice is too rich. And I think especially for a diabetic, you don't want all those sugars in your juices. So we'll fill these bottles and later we'll add water. And let's make more juice. Make sure your tray is on the press plate securely. We'll put 2 more cloths in here. Centered left to right, centered front to back, all the way back, back it off a little bit. The reason you back it off is you don't want this to go up too fast. Now because my container has a puddle of juice in, I'm going to hold these other cloths really tightly with my thumb and very carefully pour this juice into the collection bowl. Now again, you do not throw away this pulp. We're going to put 2 scoops on top of the spent pulp. Fold it. I'm going to crush the already pressed pulp, put it in the puddle to absorb that juice. Fold it in thirds, just like it came in the package. Turn it upside down, flatten it, set it aside. And when you're on your last cloth, and again I have a puddle, so I'm going to put this in the collection bowl, crush it, put it in the puddle of juice, mix it in, and again, 3 scoops. Dance that all the way before you finish this last cloth. Flatten that, set it aside. This goes forward, that goes over. The spent cloths go on top. Centered left to right, centered front to back, all the way back. Back it off a little bit. Now this time we're going to put 2 scoops on top of this pulp. Now I'm down to my last sets of pulp, and what I'm going to do with this spent pulp is form it into a very, very tight package. And I'm going to press it again to show you that we can get approximately 10% more juice using the Whole Health Foundation Premium Model Juicer. Now as you can see, I've repackaged all of the spent pulp into 3 double packets, and I'm going to use a measuring beaker to measure how much more juice we can get. So let's put 2 of these in the press. Oh, it's a tight fit, but we'll get it in there. Now very, very important to center this left to right, center it front to back, all the way back, back it off. Now there we have about 19 ounces of juice, and it's going to overflow, so I'm going to stop this, pour this into the collection container. Whoop, this bowl's overflowing. So before we press any more, I'm going to put this into more bottles. Now there's my last packet, and I had to repackage these 3 times to get this much more juice. And so far we've got another 12 ounces on top of the 19. We'll advance that a little bit more. And as soon as I get juice flow, I'm going to advance it all the way. Well, there's another 14 ounces of juice. So that's a total of 34 ounces of juice more by pressing the already spent pulp. Now before I do a taste test, I want to point out that your very last step is to wash the cloths with cold water to wash out any pulp, and then to press the water out and put them in the freezer in a plastic bag. That's enough. And we'll put these in a plastic bag and put them in the freezer. Well, as you can see, my friends, I have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 bottles of juice, probably the largest batch of juice I've ever made. And remember, 2 of these bottles came from pressing the already spent pulp on the Whole Health Foundation Premium Model Juicer, and enough for a taste test. Well, my friends, here we have the juice we made today, and let's give it a taste. Delicious as usual, I can definitely taste the tomatoes. It has a little bit of an acidic taste, and I taste the bitterness of the dandelions. But overall, a very tasty juice, especially with the fresh sorrel that sweetens up any juice. Well, my friends, I hope you like what you've seen, and if you do, please tell a friend. If you'd like to telephone me, my phone number is 760-753-0321. My email address is developtrust@cox.net, and my webpage is wholehealthbound.com. See you in the next video.